All right. Hey, Tracy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. All right. We shall then go on the record with proceeding 24G-0535TO, Public Utilities Commission of the State of Colorado versus EA Towing Incorporated. I'm Administrative Law Judge Robert Garvey. Today is the 22nd, excuse me, of April, 2025. Approximately 9 a.m. This proceeding comes on for an evidentiary hearing. I'm going to start with appearances, start with staff of the commission.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Attorneys General Aileen Chong and Justin Larson here on behalf of trial staff. With us is also Investigator Joe Potts and Investigator Lloyd Swint.
All right. Good morning to both of you. Congratulations, Mr. Larson. I saw your bounce back at one of your, hopefully my wedding anniversary is this Saturday. So
Oh,
congratulations to you.
great. Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it.
On your emails, you shouldn't have that bounce back. I'm at my wedding right now. I mean, you're going to get congratulations when you do that. That's just going to happen. All right, Mr. Arana, and hopefully I'm saying that name correctly.
I'm here. I'm having a little bit of trouble uploading my camera, but I'm here. If you can hear me.
Well, yeah, I can say. First off, just for we'll address that. Just state your name for me and then who you're representing, just for the record.
Elias Arana. I'm owner of EA Towing.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple questions real quickly before we get started. How many owners do you have for EA Towing?
I'm sole proprietor.
Okay. And based upon that and the amount in question, then I know last time we talked, you mentioned about perhaps getting counsel, getting an attorney. Since you're here and I don't see an attorney for you, I'm going to guess you didn't do that. Is that correct?
I couldn't find an attorney to help represent me and or this case.
Okay. All right. So you'll be representing yourself today then, correct?
To the best of my abilities.
I'm sure you'll do fine. And we'll try and make it not too scary for you. The first thing, let's see if we can, are you on a computer or are you on a phone?
I'm on my laptop here, and I was able to get on the camera at our first proceeding. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong today.
Okay.
Judge,
yeah.
maybe it might be this slide lock at the top of his screen because we can see just a black screen. So Mr. Arana, at the top where your camera would be, is there just a little toggle switch? I mean, it might be hard to even see, but you can feel it. It might be locked.
It's right above your camera. It's right above the camera on your laptop.
Yeah, nope, I don't have I'm familiar with what you're talking about, but I don't see a.
Oh, there you are.
There it is.
There you are.
Okay. Maybe it was just burgered up.
I don't know who helped you there, but whoever helped you, thank you.
Well, somebody a lot smarter than me.
Now there's a lot of those people when it comes to me, but no problem. Okay, we got you here. That's great. The first thing I'm going to address then is the motion to amend that was filed late last week. And Mr. Arana, in the motion there, it stated that you opposed the motion. Do you want to make any record on opposing this motion?
Not even sure what that means. I opposed this whole case, and I think I said that in the email. I received the email probably at, I think it was 1:30 Arizona time, or I was in Washington then, so it was way after the 2 o'clock deadline.
Okay. So, well, and all they're doing is they're just changing a subsection. They're going to change a subsection on violation 2, the alleged violation number 2, from A1 to A2 of 723-6-6509. They're doing that ahead of time. They gave you notice of it. You kind of should be aware of that that rule based on the Cpan. Trying to grant that motion to amend that. So violation 2 will be amended from A1 to A2. Next thing I want to talk to you about, Mr. Arana, as far as I know, you either didn't or didn't want to. You don't have any exhibits for today's hearing. Is that correct?
I think this was all based on an email, which I'm sure the prosecuting team will show the email of a tow bill.
Well, if you recall, the last time we met, we had a pre-hearing conference, and I talked to you about pre-filing exhibits that you'd have for today's hearing.
Yes, sir. I remember.
Yeah, and I just based looking at the and the e-filings for the commission, I don't see that you filed anything in there. So I'm assuming you don't have any exhibits for today's hearing. That's just me really trying to
Yes,
ascertain.
yes,
Is that
sir.
correct? Okay. That's just I want to make sure on that. I think that's all I have for preliminary matters. I will go over, Mr. Rano, just a quick refresher before we get started on the procedures and how we're going to work today. But Mr. Larson or Ms. Chong, I don't know who's going to be leading here to start, but do you have any preliminary matters you need to discuss?
No further preliminary matters from staff. Thank you.
All righty. All right, Mr. Rana, real quick refresher. I kind of went over this fairly quickly with you the last time we met. Staff's going to present their case. They're going to have witnesses. They're going to examine their witnesses. They're going to have exhibits that they're going to probably try and bring into the record. Um, they they have to move to have those exhibits admitted into the record, even though you probably have a copy of them. You've seen them. You have the opportunity to object to any of those exhibits. Um, the one thing I'll say is your objection can't be that doesn't help my case. I don't like that. It has to be a legal objection. What I'm not going to hold you to is legal words. So if there's a picture of a dog that they want to get in that has nothing to do with your case, and you say, Your Honor, I object to that, that has nothing to do with this case. I'm going to say, okay, I'll take that as a relevance objection and I'll sustain it. So you understand what I'm saying by that? I'm not going to hold you to magic words, but if you're objecting, it's got to be for some other reason other than it doesn't help you. It's got to be a legal reason, okay?
I understand. And I'm still at a black screen, although you may be able to see me. I won't be able to see or object.
You cannot see us.
No, sir.
That's a problem. What do you see on your screen?
Black.
Just black.
Yeah,
It
there's
might be a cable, Judge, because we can see him just fine.
Yeah, that's kind of really weird. And
You may want to try and sign out of Zoom and sign back in.
that's exactly right. That's where my mind was going. So, Mr. Arana, what I'm going to ask you to do then, real quickly, is just to bounce out and then bounce back in. And sometimes that alleviates that. But there's going to be exhibits that are going to be on the screen, and you're going to need to see those.
okay. Give me a second. I'll try to figure this out.
Okay. Go around. Oh, that's good. Okay. Hey, Mr. Ronnie, there?
I can see you now.
Okay, well, you know, we
Well,
can
if I
see
can
you.
just fix my audio, give me 20 seconds.
You're upside down now, just by the way. Hey, there. Okay, I can see your right side up. I think I heard you whisper, so I think I can hear you. Although maybe you can't hear us. Can you hear us, Mr. Arana? Or me? Okay, there you are again.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. I
Oh,
apologize
hey, no,
profusely.
and you can see us. And you can see us too,
And I
right?
can see you, and I can see you.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. No problem. As long as we get there, that's the important thing. Okay. I think I went over the basic deals again, they'll have their witnesses, when they're done questioning their witnesses, you'll have the opportunity to cross-examine them. Which is his questions again, remember it's questions. It's not, hey, you said this, I don't think that's right. You gotta ask them questions, okay? When you're done asking your questions, then I might have some questions for the witness. After that, then they'll be able to have what we call redirect and ask some additional questions to their witness. Then that'll be it. Like I said, with their witness, they'll try and get exhibits in. When they're all done with that, when they're done with their case, then it'll be your turn. You can call witnesses. I don't get any exhibits, but you can call witnesses. You can call yourself if you call yourself as a witness. What you can do is you don't have to ask yourself questions. You can just tell me what you'd like me to know. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Strong. I think that's it. I think we're ready to go. You may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff calls Investigator Joseph Potts to the stand.
Mr. Potts, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth on a penalty of perjury? Yes or no? Are you frozen, Mr. Potts?
And I think we have a frozen screen.
We do, yeah. Either that or he really wants to get sworn in. All right, you back? You back? I can't hear you. Oh,
Can you hear me now?
yes. All
Okay.
right, so give me I do.
I do.
Okay. All right. I'll take that instead of go through the whole swearing in again. Okay. You're sworn in. Ms. Strong, you go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Investigator Potts. Could you please
Good morning.
state and spell your name for the record?
It's Joseph Potts, JOSEPH, POTTS,
And where are you employed?
with the Colorado Public Utility Commission.
How long have you been employed there?
A little over or almost 3.5 years now.
Okay. What is your position?
Criminal investigator.
And what do the responsibilities of a criminal investigator entail?
We investigate complaints that are filed in the industries that are regulated by the PUC.
And do you have any prior work experience that's relevant to this job?
I was a sheriff's deputy for 15 years at the city and county of Denver prior to coming to the state.
Thank you. I want to move on to an introduction of this case. Investigator Potts, how did you come to be assigned to this case that brings us to a hearing today?
A complaint had been filed against EA Towing by an employee of U-Haul.
Okay. And did that come in through Consumer Affairs?
Yes, the initial complaint was filed through Consumer Affairs, and it was ultimately referred to investigations at the end of it.
Okay. Can you please summarize what you learned from that Consumer Affairs complaint?
The initial complaint indicated that the complainant believed that they were being charged for fees that were not authorized for law enforcement order tows. They had questions regarding the storage facility that was being used to store the vehicle, and they were alleging that the respondent tow company was refusing to provide a copy of the tow ticket or invoice.
And when did the tow that's in question occur?
I believe it was October 16th of 2024.
And approximately where did that tow occur?
The address was 6630 Oneida Street in Commerce City, Colorado.
Okay. And you testified that the respondent that they were complaining against was EA Towing?
That's correct.
Okay. And after reading this complaint, Investigator Potts, did you conduct an initial search within various databases to find information on EA Towing?
I object.
Yes, I did.
Okay, what's the objection?
She's leading him. If I got the complaint through Customer Affairs, why is it? I don't agree. I don't think that's how he received the complaint. He received the complaint from a Deborah Bazzari, which is his underling, which at first looks at the case and then passes it forward. She says, I don't see anything, but I'll pass it up the food chain. And that's, I believe she's leading him for his testimony.
Okay, Mr. Rana, first thing I'll tell you is you have questions like that. Those are really good cross-examination questions that you can cross-examine Mr. Potts and CI Potts on that. Second was Chong, you're leading a little bit on there. I will agree with that. Just say what you do next or something like that instead of, did you investigate? I cut a little leeway on here, but like I say, uh, I'm gonna overrule the objection there and just let it go forward. But again, Mr. Ron, I think those are good questions for you if you think that wasn't that way to ask on cross-examination. Okay,
Yes, sir.
go ahead, Ms. Chong.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Potts, I'll repeat that question. After receiving this complaint, what did you do next?
I looked up the company's profile in state databases to learn more about the tow company.
Which databases did you look at?
Our IFMS system, as well as our Opright system and records with the Secretary of State's office.
Okay, and we'll take each one in turn. Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 100? Thank you. And if we can scroll through this. And while we're scrolling, I'll ask Investigator Potts a couple more questions. Investigator Potts, what is this that we're looking at?
This is a composite report for the tow company.
Okay. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I'm the one that pulled this from the system and saved it to the file.
Are composite reports such as this one and entries and IFMs made as part of the regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
And are composite reports or entries and IFMs kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 100, the public version and the confidential version.
Okay, just hang on just 1 second. Just for the record, I'm going to state that IFMS, and tell me if I'm incorrect on this, Ms. Chong, stands for Integrated Filings Management System. Is that correct?
And yes, I'll let Investigator Potts answer.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we haven't had a definition of what IFM stands for, not what that stands for. So just for the record, I want that. And Mr. Rana, so do you have any objection to the admission of Exhibit 1?
No.
Okay, Exhibit 1 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if we can scroll down to the bottom of page 4. Thank you. Investigator Potts, based off of this composite report, has EA Towing maintained an active towing permit?
Yes, they have.
And since when?
It looks like it goes back to 2012.
Okay. And scrolling up a little bit on page 4. Right there is great. Who is the designated agent?
Mr. Arana?
Okay, and that says Elias Arana on that page.
Correct.
And what is Mr. Arana or the respondent's mailing address?
It would be 15416 North 83rd Street in Longmont, Colorado.
Okay. And can we please scroll up to page 2 of this exhibit? Did respondent file a storage facility with the commission?
Yes, they did.
And what is the address of that storage facility?
We're going to have to scroll down a little bit. There's a couple entries. As of right now, the current storage facility, we have one listed at 7880 Welby Road in Denver, Colorado.
And that was the active registration of the storage facility at the time that you accessed this file?
That is correct.
And what date did you access this file?
It would have been shortly after the complaint was filed and the case was assigned to me, which would have, my guess would have been sometime in very late October, very beginning of November.
Okay, can we scroll down to the bottom of this page? On the bottom right corner, is there a date that indicates which day you accessed this report?
Yes, the printed date of the IFMS report is November 20th, 2024.
Thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down, please. Next, can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 101?
Investigator Potts, real quickly, just for my records, So should I assume that the November 20th is about when you started your investigation?
That would be correct.
Okay, thank you.
Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is the business license for the tow company through the Secretary of State's office.
Okay. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I am the one that pulled this from their system.
Okay. Is researching respondents via the Colorado Secretary of State database a regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, it is.
And is keeping records, such as this one, as part of your investigation a regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 101.
Ian, is there any objection to 101?
No, sir.
All right, 101 shall be admitted.
Thank you. Investigator Potts, when was EA Towing Inc. formed?
If we could zoom in, please. The formation date is I believe it's May 18th, 2007.
Okay. And scrolling to the top of this page, in the top left corner, what date did you access this entry?
November 18th, 2024.
Okay. And on the date that you accessed this entry, what was EA Towing Inc.'s status?
At the time that I pulled this document, they were in delinquent status.
Okay. If we could scroll down just a bit, who was a registered agent of EA Towing Inc. according to this database?
Elias Ariana.
Okay. And is the street address and the mailing address the same address as the mailing address that's on file in the IFM's entry?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down. Investigator Potts, we'll go through your investigation in a bit more detail, but as a result of the sum of your investigation, did you issue a Cpan against the respondent EA Towing?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can we pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 107? Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is the civil penalty assessment or notice of complaint to appear document that I issued to the tow company.
Okay. And you said civil penalty assessment, and that's what Cpan stands for?
That's correct.
Wow. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I'm the one that compiled this document and issued it.
Are Cpans made as part of the regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Are Cpans kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
And before I move to admit, can we please scroll through the entire document? Thank you. And Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 107.
Any objection to exhibit 107? Marianne?
Yes.
There's an objection?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, I agree with the document.
Okay. 107 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And we can pull this exhibit down. We'll return to this a bit later. Investigator Potts, as part of your investigation, did you speak with someone from U-Haul who was familiar with the incident?
Yes, I did.
And what did you learn from that conversation as part of your investigation?
I spoke to an employee by the name of Anna Tatum, who had assisted Ms. Schroeder in filing this complaint. She had told me that one of their trailers had been abandoned, apparently within the city of Commerce City. It was located and discovered by the Commerce City Police, who contacted the respondent to come remove it. They were ultimately informed of the charges for the tow and recovery of this trailer, And they knew that several of the fees that were included were not legal fees that can be charged as part of a law enforcement order tow. Again, they had concerns with the respondent refusing to provide a copy of the tow ticket or invoice. And their manager ultimately decided to go to the tow yard to pay the fees and retrieve the vehicle. However, when he got there, he discovered it was just an empty field, which raised his concern.
I object.
Okay, what's your objection?
Mr. Potts, you're under oath. No one ever came to our yard. You
Again, Mr. Ariana, I gotta tell you, this is what I was talking about. If you need a legal objection, if you disagree with what he's saying, if you think what he's saying is wrong, that's where you go on cross-examination and you can question him on that. You understand?
Fair enough.
Okay. So I'm going to overrule the objection right now. But like I say, I think you're going into what would be good cross-examination questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Strong, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Potts, based off of that information about the tow yard, what did you do next?
I decided to travel to the respondent's tow yard on file with the commission.
And was that the 7880 Welby Road that we saw in the IFM's entry?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you personally traveled to respondent's tow yard that was on file. Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 103? Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is a photo I took of the address that my GPS took me to.
Okay. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I took the photo and saved it to the file.
On what date was this picture taken?
If we can scroll up, there is a date and timestamp.
Your
November
Honor?
19th.
Can I object to the photo? That's not the current address. That's not the address he just mentioned or the address Ms. Chung mentioned.
Your Honor, I would object to Mr. Arana objecting to the content of Investigator Potts's answers. If he'd like to object to a question that I have that's improper, I think that would be the correct way to go, Your Honor.
Well, hang on a minute. I'm gonna stop both of you. So someone doesn't object to an objection to an objection. So, Mr. Rana, what I think you're going to want to do, I think you're going to probably want to object to this picture coming in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Wait till she offers to bring that picture in, and then I will listen to the objection about this picture. Okay. She hasn't offered to. I think it's coming. I don't want to tell Ms. Chung how to do her job or figure out what she's going to do, but I got a feeling she's going to move to enter this picture, and then you can make your objection. Okay.
Okay.
So Ms. Chung, continue.
And Investigator Potts, you personally took this picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 103 into evidence.
All right, Mr. Rana, you have any objection?
I object to this photo. This photo is not of 8280 Welby. It states on there 3189 East 88th. You were approximately 3 blocks away.
Okay, so, well, Mr. Rana, let me ask you this, Mr. Rana. Do you know if this, do you think the photo is of 3189 East 88th Avenue? Do you think that's it?
That photo is not of my yard. I'm very familiar with what my property would look like. That is not of my property.
Is your yard at 3189 East 88th Avenue?
No, sir. It is
Okay.
at 8280 Welby Road.
Okay, so as far as you know, this could be what 3189 East 88th Avenue looks like. Is that correct?
I wouldn't know. I don't think I go there. Don't think
You don't
I've been.
Okay, all right. So I understand what you're objecting to because you don't think this is your yard and you think it's being presented as a yard. But what it's being presented is as 3189 East 88th Avenue, whatever that may be. I don't know if it's a yard or not. As far as I can tell, it's an empty field. I'm going to allow this picture in. You can ask Mr. Investigator Potts any kind of questions you want about this picture and whether this accurately depicts your yard. Fair enough?
If he's stating he went to my yard, that's not my yard, Your Honor. I
Well,
would
okay.
ask that the photo be dismissed.
Well, what I say is you can ask him pictures about this photo. If this is not your yard, then you can ask him about that. But as far as I can tell, what I need to figure out is whether this picture accurately depicts 3189 East 88th Avenue. As far as I know, it does. And you're not telling me that it does not. You're telling me it's not your yard, which is a different, because you're telling me your yard someplace else. So I'm going to allow the picture in, but again, it's something you might want to ask Investigator Potts about. Okay. That makes sense, Mr. Arano?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Chung, so we will admit, is 103? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. We'll admit 103, and Ms. Chung, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Potts, you previously testified that you use a GPS program when you take pictures, correct?
I used a GPS navigation system on my phone to take me to the address of the storage facility. I use a separate app on my phone to take pictures.
Okay. And does the separate app that you use to take pictures have a GPS capability on it?
It does, but it is not always correct. The
Okay,
reason I use it is for the date and timestamp.
Okay, and explain to us what you mean by it's not always correct.
The coordinates of the supposed addresses that appear on this app are not always correct. Sometimes it produces an address that's in the area that I'm at, but it may not be the correct address I'm standing in front of at that moment.
Okay. And you had, when you traveled to the tow yard that's on file in IFMS, you traveled to 7880 Welby Road, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us about your journey there and what you observed when you got there?
When I got to this location, I viewed it to be a large triangular shaped empty field. The address of 8280 Welby Road would be up further north on the other end of this field. There was a lot of construction going on that end of the field, and a lot of the roads were closed, which would not allow me to go further down into the field area. But according to the GPS on my phone, this area that I'm standing in front of is 7880 Welby Road, which is the storage facility address on file for the respondent's storage facility.
Your Honor, are we going to 7880? Or are we going to 8280? Or are we going to 3189? Where are we going? Because we're mentioning like 3 or 4 different addresses in the IFM or the records that it says my yard is at. When we filed for the PUC, is it 15416 North 83rd in Longmont, Colorado? My tow ticket says 8280. So I'm not exactly sure where all the addresses are coming in.
Mr.
I wish I
Arano?
was that big. I wish I had multiple locations, but I don't.
Mr. Arano, you're asking really good questions that I have as well. And I recommend you ask them to Investigator Potts when your time cross-examination happens, okay?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You're not this. You don't do this every day. I understand that. But like I said, what you're doing is asking good questions, and those are good questions to ask Investigator Potts. Okay, Ms. Chung, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Potts, what was the towing facility address that respondent had on file with IFMS?
Which mailing, office, or storage facility address are we referring to?
Storage facility, my apologies.
Storage facility is 7880 Welby Road in Denver.
Okay. And is it that address that was the basis of your investigation, because that is the address that's on file with the commission?
That is correct.
And because you knew that that address was on file with the commission, is that the address that you put into your GPS to check whether the tow yard was there?
That is correct.
And were you able to corroborate what the complainant told you with regards to a description of that tow yard?
Exactly.
Okay. And what conclusion did you make of the towing address that the respondent has on file with the commission? That's 7880 Welby Road with the commission.
Based on what the complainant had told me and based upon what I was now seeing with my own eyes, certainly was an issue that I knew I would have to address with the tow company.
Okay. And did you see any cars at this address?
I did not.
Did you see anything that indicated that this was a tow yard?
I did not.
Okay, thank you. And we can take this exhibit down. Investigator Potts, did you receive a copy of the invoice from the complainant for the tow in question?
Yes, I did.
Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 104? Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is a copy of the complainant's invoice.
Okay. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
This is the copy that was provided to the complainant, and the complainant then provided this to the Public Utility Commission.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 104.
Mr. Rhoda, any objection to exhibit 104?
No objections.
All right, 104 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Investigator Potts, on the top left corner of this invoice, what date does this invoice indicate that this tow occurred?
October 16th, 2024.
And this is a tow invoice from EA Towing that we see in the middle as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the right-hand side, we see CCPD. Can you please tell us what you understood that to mean?
It stood for Commerce City Police Department.
Okay. And what did that mean to you that was indicated on this invoice?
That this was a tow of a vehicle ordered by law enforcement.
Thank you. Investigator Potts, first, I want to talk to you about what you observed to be missing from this invoice. Does this invoice contain the address or permit number of the towing carrier?
It does not.
And was that in violation of 4 CCR or Commission Rule 6509A2?
Correct.
And is that why you charged violation number 2 on the Cpan?
Your Honor,
That's
I think
correct.
he's bleeding again.
And Ms. Strong, you got a response?
Your Honor, I can reform my questions.
All right, why don't you do that?
And Investigator Potts, what did you observe about this invoice as it has to do with the storage facility?
The location that the vehicle was taken to, 8280 Welby Road, is not the storage facility address filed with the Public Utilities Commission.
And so you understood 8280 Welby Road to be the location of the storage facility?
That's where this invoice is indicating the vehicle was taken to. And the only place that a vehicle can be taken to when it's towed without the owner's consent is to the storage facility address on file with the commission.
Okay. And what did you observe about this invoice as it has to do with the date and time of the beginning of the tow?
These are items that are required to be printed on the invoice when the tow is performed by law enforcement. And at least in this case, the time is not indicated on here.
Okay. And that's the beginning of the tow?
That's correct.
And what did you observe as this invoice has to do with the date and time of the tow completion?
Your Honor, she's leading him. If he found the violations, let him explain the violations he found, not go by and prep each one. I mean, I just don't understand.
Strong, why don't you rephrase that?
If he found all of these violations, I would state, here's what I found, and I found X.
And I'm sorry, I
Right.
didn't hear what you said as it has
No.
to do with the objection before I move on.
Mr. Ronhagen, you're good, okay? Ms. Chung, just rephrase the question for me.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Investigator Potts, what other defects in this invoice did you find as it has to do with the date and time of the towed vehicle?
It is required on a law enforcement order tow that the commencement of the tow, completion of the tow, and the time the vehicle, date and time the vehicle is released from storage is also required to be presented or printed on the invoice.
And did you observe those things on this invoice?
I did not.
Okay. And for that reason, did you charge violation number 4 on the Cpan?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And if we scroll down to the bottom of this page, Investigator Potts, did you observe any names or signatures of anyone on this tow invoice?
I did not.
And what did that indicate to you?
That there is no signature to whom the motor vehicle is released to, which is also a required item to be present on a tow invoice.
Okay. And did you also observe any other missing information on this tow invoice?
I did, but we would probably have to also reference the Cpan because there's a number of items that this invoice was missing.
Okay. And how about we do that? Can we please pull up what's been previously admitted as exhibit number 107? Thank you. And if we can zoom in a little here. So let's start with number 5. Can you please tell us why you had charged violation number 5 based off of the tow invoice?
The printed name and signature of the tow truck driver is missing from the invoice.
Okay. And could you please tell us why you charged violation number 6 on the Cpan?
The invoice was missing the unit number or license plate number of the tow truck.
Okay. And could you please tell us why you charged number 7?
The signature to whom the motor vehicle is released to was missing from the invoice.
Okay. And violation number 8?
There's a required PUC advisement that is missing from the invoice.
And what is that PUC advisement that's required?
It's required to be printed on at least the customer's copy of the invoice, and it states, report problems to the Public Utility Commission at, I believe the phone number is 303-894-2070.
And you did not see that on the invoice?
I did not.
Okay. And moving on to violation number 9, why did you charge this violation?
This is an improper fee. A $75 fee was assessed, or a total of $75 in additional fees were assessed on the invoice, which cannot be assessed when the tow is ordered by law enforcement.
Okay. And how did you, can you tell us a little bit more about how you understood that $75 to be an improper fee?
Certainly. Can we pull up a copy of the invoice?
Yes, if we can. Yep, thank you.
And if we could zoom in just a little bit here. Okay. There's 2 items. There is a $50 hookup fee, and there is a $25 winching fee. Law enforcement order tows have to charge by the hour in quarter-hour increments after the first hour, with no additional charges or surcharges or anything outside of commission rule or statute will allow.
Okay. So based on your knowledge of what law enforcement tows are allowed to charge for a tow, which fees on this invoice did you understand to be an improper fee?
The $50 hookup fee and the $25 winching fee are improper fees. There is also a $75 admin fee that a tower can charge if they comply with the search and notification requirement of the statute.
Okay. And to your understanding, did that search and notice requirement, was that fulfilled by the respondent?
No. After speaking with the respondent, I was informed that the statutory search and notice was not performed.
Okay. And if we could please return to the Cpan, hearing exhibit number 107, and scrolling down to violation number 10. Investigator Potts, why did you charge violation number 10?
There is a number of timing notations that are required to be presented or printed on the invoice, such as time of dispatch, time tow truck leaves the yard or other staging location, time the tow truck arrives on the scene, time the tow truck leaves the scene, and time the towed motor vehicle was unhooked from the tow truck.
And did you see any of this information on the invoice?
I did not.
Okay. And moving on to violation number 11, why did you charge this violation?
There is an additional requirement that is required to be printed on a law enforcement order tow invoice when the tow company is charging for more than 1 hour of their time. And it's an advisement that is required to state documentation of costs billed in excess for 1 hour for any tow truck and driver for such tow are available upon request.
And how did you come to understand that there were costs billed in excess of 1 hour for this particular tow?
If we can refer back to a copy of the invoice, please. So if we look at line item number 1, large wrecker at $250 per hour, he is charging for $500, which leads me to believe that he's charging for 2 hours of time.
Thank you. And moving back to hearing exhibit 107, the Cpan. Violation number 12. Can you please tell us about why you charged violation number 12?
Yes. According to the statutes that are referenced in the violation, a carrier has up to 10 days to perform a statutory search for the registered owner and any lien holder and send notice via certified mail informing them of the tow and impound of their vehicle. After speaking with the respondent in this case, I was informed that the vehicle, this search and notice requirement was not performed because the trailer was registered out of state.
Thank you. And we can pull these exhibits down. Thank you. Investigator Potts, what did you do after learning that this was a law enforcement tow?
I contacted the Commerce City Police Department and requested a copy of the police report if they had one.
Okay. And did you speak to anyone at the Commerce City Police Department?
Yes, I spoke with the Commander Darling.
And what did you learn from Commander Darling as part of your investigation?
He told me that this particular tow company is not on a regular rotation with their agency. However, in exigent circumstances or in situations where their primary tow carrier is tied up, they will occasionally reach out if they need to utilize their services. Okay.
And was it Commander Darling who sent you documents? Is that what you said earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So did you receive a police impound report from Commerce City Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 105? If we could scroll down, and I'll ask Investigator Potts some questions as you're scrolling. Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is a copy of the tow and impound report that I received from Commerce City Police.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
This is what was sent to me. I reviewed it and saved it to the file.
And are police impound reports collected as a regular practice of investigations at the PUC?
Yes, they are.
And are these reports kept in the ordinary course of business as a regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 105.
Any objection to exhibit 105?
No, sir.
All right, 105 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Scrolling down to page 2, please. And if we can scroll down just a bit to the bottom. Okay. Investigator Potts, who compiles these impound reports?
Members of the police department or employees of the police department.
And in this case, on page 2, does that indicate to you that a member of the police department compiled this report?
If we can zoom in, just so I can not have to squint while reading it. Yes.
Okay. And if we can scroll up to the top of page 2, right there is fine. And did the impound narrative that you read from this report match the narrative that you received from the complainant in this case?
Essentially that the Commerce City Police Department had towed it. I don't think they would have had knowledge of when it was discovered, when it was tagged, any of that. But generally, the respondent was called in to recover their trailer.
Okay. But it confirmed that law enforcement did indeed conduct this tow or direct this tow.
Correct.
Okay. And still staying on page 2, where was the vehicle allegedly towed to?
8280 Welby Road.
Okay. And does that address, 8280 Welby Road, match what was on the invoice?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And we can take this exhibit down. So Investigator Potts, did you ultimately conclude as a part of your investigation that this was a tow authorized by law enforcement?
Yes, it was.
So that was not a question for you in this investigation.
Correct.
In fact, none of the violations that you charged are about an unauthorized tow, correct?
Correct.
Can you summarize what the violations that you charged have to do with?
The fees that were charged to the complainant or the vehicle owner, as well as the content of the invoice was lacking required information.
Okay. And were there issues with the storage facility as well?
There was.
Leading.
I can overrule it. It's actually kind of going over what we've already gone over. So,
Thank you, Your Honor. And Investigator Potts, based on your experience, why is it important to have all the requisite information on an invoice?
It provides transparency on behalf of the customer or on behalf of the tow company to the customer, showing the amount of time that they claim they spent on the recovery operation of the vehicle.
Okay. And why is it important to have the correct storage facility information on file with the commission?
Well, that's the only location that a tow company can take a vehicle when it's been towed without the owner's consent, is to their tow yard on file with the commission.
Okay.
It also provides the customer with where they can go to claim their vehicle once they've been notified that it's been towed.
And Investigator Potts, you previously testified that you had a conversation with Respondent Elias Arana in this case, correct?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that conversation?
A few days after I reviewed the invoice and visited the tow yard, or the address that I was informed as the tow yard.
And can you please summarize what Respondent told you about this incident?
Yes, I talked to him over the phone about the invoice, first of all, and discussed the number of issues with the fees that were not authorized to be charged for law enforcement order tows, that the invoice was lacking a number of items that are required to be printed on the invoice when it's towed without the owner's consent. And then we discussed the issues with the storage facility. I told him that I had driven to the location of the storage yard, 7880 Welby Road, and that to me it appeared to be a dirt field. He told me that his storage facility was in that area. However, he had to relocate all of his impounds up to his address or his home address in Longmont due to the construction issues going on down there. And I told him that that was not an issue. However, he needs to file an update form with the PUC so that we can add that storage facility address to his profile.
Okay. So is Mr. Arana's personal residence the storage facility that's on file with the commission?
It is to my understanding, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat that question. Is his personal residence the storage facility that's on file with the commission?
That's what he informed me.
Okay, that's what he informed you. But based on your understanding of the IFMs, is the storage facility that's on file his personal residence? In Longmont?
The address in Longmont is his personal residence.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And what is the address of the storage facility of the tow yard that's on file with the commission?
At the time the tow was performed, the storage facility on file was 7880 Welby Road.
And that is not respondent's personal residence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So was Mr. Arana's statement corroborated by what you saw when you went to the tow yard that was on file?
Yes. It did appear to be a large empty field, but there was a lot of construction going on, and I wasn't able to access the opposite end of the field, which is where he may be storing or had a storage facility at one time.
And is this information why you charge violation number 1? If we can please pull up Cpan number or hearing exhibit number 107.
That is correct.
Okay, and we can pull that exhibit down. Can you please tell us about your discussion with respondent as it had to do with the next steps to take?
Yeah. After I discussed all the violations with him, I told him that according to Commission Rule 6511F, I now had to ask him to refund all the proceeds for this tow because of the violations. I offered to write a warning letter in lieu of writing a CPAN if he issued a refund. He ultimately decided he would rather take this before a hearing and have his day in court, if I remember his words correctly.
Okay. And you had previously testified about the storage facility updates. Are towing carriers allowed to update their storage facility information on file with the commission?
Absolutely.
And how do towing carriers go about doing that?
There's a particular form from the PUC that they can fill out to update any of their information. And in this case, I sent it to Mr. Arana to help him out, get his storage facilities addresses updated within our file.
Can we please pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 106? If we could scroll through this document, please. Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is the email string that I was exchanging with Mr. Arana.
So you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I printed my email string that I exchanged with him and saved it to the file.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 106.
Any objection to exhibit 106?
No, sir.
All right, 106 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if we could scroll down to the bottom of page 1, in between 1 and 2. You can scroll down just a bit more. Thank you, that's right there. Investigator Potts, can you tell us what we're looking at in this particular part of the email chain?
If we scroll down, I didn't see anything. That part of my screen may be frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you
Okay.
see the exhibit, Investigator Potts?
Yes, I can. Are we still talking about the email?
Yes.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. And Investigator Potts, is this an email string between you and Mr. Arana?
Yes, it is.
And you had testified that you sent Mr. Arana the tow carrier contact information update, correct? Form?
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
did.
And is that what is indicated in this part of the email string?
We'd have to go through and review each of the exchanges, but I believe it was through this one string that I sent him everything.
Okay. And if we zoom in a little bit to the PDF that's attached to this email, do you see the portion of this exhibit that says tow carrier contact information update?
Yes, there we go at the top of the screen.
Yep. And what is that, Investigator Potts?
This is the email message in which I had sent him a copy of the carrier update form so he could get his addresses updated with the PUC.
Okay, thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down. Investigator Potts, if the respondent had paid a refund and submitted this tow carrier contact information update prior to issuing a Cpan, would you have issued a Cpan?
No, I would not.
Okay. And what date did you ultimately issue that Cpan?
I believe it was late November, early December.
Okay. And if we can pull up hearing exhibit number 107. And scroll down to page 3. What date did you issue this Cpan?
It looks like it was December 9th, 2024.
Okay, thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down. Next, Investigator Potts, I'd like to talk to you about service. How was service of the Cpan accomplished in this case?
Via certified mail.
Okay, can we pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 108? Okay, what is this, Investigator Potts?
This is a photocopy of the envelope that I used to mail the Cpan to the respondent.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I performed the photocopy and I saved this image to the file.
Okay. And is certified mail used as a regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, it is.
Is certified mail kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, it is.
And if we can scroll down through the end of this exhibit, thank you. Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 108.
Any objection to 108?
No, sir.
108 shall be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Investigator Potts, what is the address that you sent this CPAN to?
15416 North 83rd Street in Longmont, Colorado.
And where did you get that address from?
This is the address, the mailing address for the company, and I also believe this is the address provided for the registered agent or designated agent, Mr. Arana.
Thank you. And we could pull this exhibit down and pull up what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 109. Thank you. And if we can scroll through this document as well. Investigator Potts, what is this?
This is the tracking summary from the United States Postal System.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How are you familiar with this exhibit?
I printed the tracking history and saved it to the file.
And are tracking histories used as a regular practice of the PUC?
Yes, they are.
And are tracking histories kept in the ordinary course of regularly conducted business by the PUC?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, staff would move to admit what's been marked as staff's hearing exhibit number 109.
Any objection to exhibit 109?
No, sir.
All right, 109 shall be admitted.
Thank you. And based off of this tracking history, what did you learn about the mail that you sent?
That it was delivered and left with an individual on December. Well, there's a date on there, but we'd have to zoom in. December 9th, 2024.
Thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down. And Investigator Potts, based on the sum of your investigation in this case, what are your recommendations today?
I would ask that the full amount of the penalty imposed and that the respondent issue a full refund to the complainant.
Thank you, Investigator Potts. No further questions.
Right. I tell you what, Mr. Rana, how long do you think you're gonna have questions for Investigator Potts?
I have just like 5 or 6 easy yes or no questions. Shouldn't take long.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll keep going. I generally want to take a break. I'll probably take a break around 10:30. So I like to do my reporter break then. So Mr. Rana, why don't you go ahead and you can start your questions.
Mr. Potts, thank you for coming today and sharing your testimony. My questions will be super simple. Was I disrespectful to you in any way?
And we can't hear
for
you.
about 15
relevance.
I think that merits. Are we talking about facts? Are we talking about feelings? Why was he?
I think it's incredibly relevant. That goes to mitigation and to how he acted and how he's done. I'm very curious. Investigator Potts, we couldn't hear you when you were answering. But go ahead.
Yeah, my entire screen and audio froze for about 15 seconds. So I did not hear any of the question or what's taking place next. Sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Potts, was I disrespectful in any of the conversations we had over the phone?
No, sir.
Did you say to me when we had our conversation that it was a righteous tow?
Yes.
Did we overcharge per PUC? You mentioned that the timelines, and I'll agree, I've made a handful of different mistakes on this tow ticket that I will try to rectify it as soon as possible. Did we overcharge per PUC rules? I know how we charged is the question, but did we overcharge on any of the items that we charged?
Yes, sir.
We did.
Yes, sir.
Oh, interesting. Okay. How many times did U-Haul call you?
I spoke with them maybe 2 or 3 times. throughout the
Okay.
course of this.
Okay. Is it normal for a tow company to, when they pull up or when they see an out-of-state plate, when they pull up the info, it would show no data found?
Well, that process for the search for the registered owner and lien holder is performed through the DMV, through the Department of Revenue and the Department of Motor Vehicles.
I'm
I
aware
don't
of
know what I don't know what you typically, how often non-return data is returned to the tow company.
I'm aware of that. There's a portal that we sign into, and it allows me to, if the plate is within Colorado, it'll show me a registered owner. This plate was a Washington plate. Is that correct?
Is to my understanding, it was an Arizona plate, but it could have been. From what we understand, it's an out-of-state plate.
Okay. It was an Arizona company with the Washington plate. It
Okay.
says so in the, well, when you spoke with Commander Darling, did she say, and I don't know if Darling is a man or a woman, so when you spoke with the commander, did you mentioned in your testimony to Ms. Chung that we're not used in the normal course of towing because can you repeat what you said? Do you remember what you said?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I can
Yeah,
hear you.
I had another freeze on the screen right as you were getting ready to ask the questions. You'll have to repeat it. I'm sorry.
When you spoke with Commander Darling, you mentioned in your testimony that we're not used under the normal course of business. Why was it that we're not used for the normal course of business?
He told me that you were not, he told me that they do not have or maintain a contract with you and that you are not their primary tow company. However, when their other company or companies were tied up, that's when they would call upon EA Towing to perform tows.
I doubt that he told you that, Mr. Potts, because that is not true. We are only used by code enforcement. The local towing company refuses to tow the trailers, the campers, whether they're homeless or abandoned vehicles in Commerce City. And she would have been, Commander Darling would have been very forthcoming because that is our sole practice for the city of Commerce City. So just for the record, how do you know I live at 15416 North 83rd? Is there a gas bill or a light bill? Do you?
No, you told me when we talked over the phone.
Okay.
And we discussed the issues of storing vehicles at your residence and how it's not against regulation. We just need to make sure that you update your carrier profile and add that storage facility address or your personal residence to the storage facility address, and that there would also be concerns regarding security and lighting. And as long as those issues are taken care of, there's no issue with storing a vehicle at your residence.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. At the time that the unit was towed on October, was it the PUC? Did the PUC have 15416 North 83rd on their database for location?
No, the storage facility address at the time that you performed the tow was 7880 Welby Road.
Mr. Potts, where did you get that address? That's not a business address. That's not anything to do with EA Towing.
That is the information on your carrier profile, and I presume it was supplied by you when you applied for your towing permit.
I don't remember seeing that on the IFM. I think that's the correct acronym for it. But my last question will be super simple. It goes back to feelings and it goes back to facts. When we spoke, I said to you, I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm willing to donate the money to a charitable contribution of your choosing. I'd rather give it to the state than to give it back to U-Haul. Is that correct? Did I share that information with you?
Yes, I do recall you saying that.
Did I say to you, I'll take my day in court. I'll see you in court.
I believe your exact terminology was go ahead and file your complaint and I'll see you in court.
Yeah. Okay. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Potts. Thank you for coming and being forthcoming with your information.
All right. Okay. It's at 10:15 exactly. I tell you what, I'm gonna take a 15-minute break. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes. When we come back, then I'll have my questions and we'll have redirect. And we'll go on from there. So we'll be in recess until 10:30. Thanks.
benefits of like
All right. Tracy, you there?
I am here.
All righty. Okay, we shall go back on the record with proceeding number 24G-0535TO. And time for my questions. Investigator Potts, I would remind you that you are still under oath. And I just have a few for you here. Mr. Rana was asking you right near the end there about the state databases and stuff like that. So from the tow, he's supposed to make a request into the DMV, Colorado DMV database, correct?
Correct.
So is he under any requirement if it's an out-of-state plate, as he was stating?
Yes, it doesn't matter what vehicle or what state the vehicle is registered out of. The Colorado DMV will perform first a statewide search for any registered owners and lien holders, and if no information is returned, then they will perform a national search.
Okay.
If at that point they cannot locate any information, they will send a letter to the tow carrier telling them that they have not been able to locate any records.
Okay. Could we pull up Exhibit 103 real quick? All right. I was kind of confused about this picture, and so I'll try and figure out what's going on here. Because that's got a Thornton, Colorado address, and in looking through IPMs, I don't see anything in Thornton. So the tow yard is supposedly in Denver. So this is the tow yard, correct?
Yes, I'm using this app to take photos. It does date and timestamp the images, and that's why I use the application. However, the address that appears on here is not always going to be correct. And in this case, it looks like it picked up an address in the area and put that on there.
Okay, but we don't have any map or anything to tell me that this is what it is. There's nothing. Okay, that's fine. And count 8 of the Cpan requires that there's some language, piecing language on it. I'm correct, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You have in Exhibit 104. We don't have to bring it up, but that's the invoice, and there's only the front of the invoice on there. Do you know if there's anything on the back of that invoice?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right, and it appears you sent him the email that had the ability to update the storage facility, correct?
Yes, I sent him an email with an attached form for him to add his updated information.
Do you know if he ever did that?
I believe he returned it to me, and I got it to our staff so it could be updated.
So
There are
so it
sorry.
has been updated. So you sent it to him, and then he replied and updated it after that.
From my recollection, yes.
Okay. And Mr. Rana asked you a question about whether he overcharged on anything. And you said yes. And then he didn't ask you what he overcharged on. So what did he overcharge you on? What did he overcharge on?
There are 2 separate fees totaling $75. I believe one of them was a hook fee, and the other was a winch fee that was $25, which totaled $75. You cannot charge these additional fees when it's a tow performed by law enforcement. Then, and I can see how this gets confusing, there is also an admin fee of $75, which is typically done for the purposes of the statutory search and notification fee.
Okay.
If the carrier
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
if they comply with that process, then they can charge between $75 and $150 for performing this service.
Okay. So I understand that there's charges that shouldn't be on there, at least that's the allegation. But I guess what I'm asking is that my recollection of the law enforcement tows, it's based on weight. But that's not correct. It's the hourly rate is by weight. So is his hourly rate correct? That's what I was wondering if that's correct.
I believe at the time the max rate was around $275 an hour, and I believe he was only charging $250 an hour. So, yeah, based on the weight of a U-Haul trailer, I don't believe he exceeded the hourly rate.
Okay,
that's for the weight class.
That's what I was worried about.
Okay.
I understand the additional charges, but the way his question was phrased, I just wasn't sure if that rate was incorrect as well. And let's see real quickly. Do you know how far 8280 Welby Road is away from 7880 Welby Road?
It is on the other end of that dirt field, it provided in the image.
Was there anything, and you stated in that dirt field that there was construction going on?
Yes, sir. And a number of the streets were closed that prevented me from accessing that end of the field.
Okay. So was there anything that looked like a tow yard that you could discern from? So I'm guessing that picture's on the other end of where the tow yard should be. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so could you see fencing? Could you see the lighting? Could you see what would be a tow yard?
No, I couldn't see anything, but then again, I couldn't access that area because the roads were closed.
Okay.
And I give him the benefit of the doubt. If his tow yard is down in there, I have no issue with that. However, 7880 is the address of the tow yard, not 8280 Welby Road. And the only place that the vehicle could be taken to at that time was the address on file, which was 7880.
Okay. All right, let me just check real quickly here. Oh, and I asked you this before, but so chronologically, this tow happens on the 16th of October, 2024, and then your investigation starts approximately the end of that month, a few weeks later, or?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Do you know of any aggravating factors for this case?
Not to my recollection. I believe this is their first complaint.
Okay. Do you know of any mitigating factors?
I try to resolve this by asking for a refund. We interpret that as they need a refund all fees that were paid back to the person that paid the fees. And again, I was willing to issue a warning letter if that was performed. But when they refused to issue the refund, I have no recourse to offer the complaint. So I had to take the Cpan route.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chung, I think that's all I have. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly.
Okay.
Investigator Potts, you spoke briefly with ALJ Garvey about the photo that you took. So just to clarify, what address did you put in your personal GPS to get to that location where you took that photo?
7880 Welby Road in Denver.
Thank you. And you had spoken to Mr. Arana on cross with regards to some confusion about what's on file with the commission. Can we please pull up the public version of Hearing Exhibit 100?
And hey, Mr. Chung, I'm going to mention real quickly while you're bringing that up there, you did not ask for the admission of the confidential version of Exhibit 100. So, but I will admit that as well. So
Okay. So I'll move to admit the confidential version of Hearing Exhibit 100 at this time.
yeah, no, it's admitted. So
Thank you.
Okay.
So if we can please scroll down to page 2. And if we can scroll down just a bit more, and right there is perfect. Investigator Potts, where do you look at to see where the storage facility on file is for this respondent?
It is located near the middle or top section of the page. Oprights or OPR storage
Okay.
provides the name of the tow company and the address of 7880 Welby Road. And it indicates that this address was filed with the PUC on March 4th, 2024.
Okay. And looking at the line below that, is that another upright storage facility?
Yes,
And
that one is,
Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
What is the address on that next line?
8280 Welby Road.
Okay. And how long was that on file with the commission?
It was filed on June 27th, 2019, and it was canceled on June 18th, 2020.
Okay. So on the date of offense, October 16th, 2024, what was the storage facility that was on file with the commission that was active?
7880 Welby Road in Denver, Colorado.
Okay, thank you. And we can pull this exhibit down. And lastly, Investigator Potts, I want to talk to you about a statement that you made on cross with Mr. Arana about a righteous tow. Can you please explain to us what you meant by righteous tow?
Certainly. The respondent was called in by law enforcement to remove the vehicle. It was properly authorized and performed. We have no issues with that. The only issues I have are with regard to the fees and the invoice content. But as far as the tow is performed, he did a great job.
Okay. And the basis of the violations that you charged in this case does not have to do with the tow, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor, and no further questions.
Okay, do you have any other witnesses?
No further witnesses, staff rests.
Okay, all right, Mr. Rana, it's your turn, and I forgot to mention one thing when I was giving you a quick reminder about how this works. If you choose to testify, you will be subject to cross-examination and questions from me. So realize that, but you do have the right to testify if you'd like to do that. So it's up to you, or you can just say that's it. So what would you like to do, sir?
Your Honor, I just wanted an opportunity to share my thoughts, my concerns, and they, although they may not be articulated properly, I don't have the level of intellect that some of your colleagues have. I'm really good when your car is hanging 800 feet off a cliff. And you got your dog and stuff, I'll get you back. But to the rest of this, I know you have a...
Hang on one second, Mr. Rana. I'm going to let you talk, and I'll let you keep going on that. But before we do that, I have to swear you in. Like I say, and you can tell me what you want to tell me.
Nope, nothing further to say here.
You sure?
1000%. Thank you.
Okay. And if you don't want to testify, I can't make you testify, and I can't ask you any questions, and that's going to be it, then.
Well, let's see. You're right. I think if you have questions, I'll feel more than happy to answer them. Although I may not have it to your level of intellect.
Trust me, you don't have to go very far to get there. But if you want to tell me what your side or whatever you want to tell me, I do need to swear you in. Okay.
That's fine.
All right. So raise your right hand. To swear affirm, tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth on a penalty of perjury.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I will say one more time. I don't want you to pressure you into testifying if you don't want to. It's totally up to you. But,
fire away.
Well, no, you go ahead. You go ahead and tell me what you want to tell me.
I'm grateful to be here. I think there's some clerical mistakes I made. 8280 to the 78. It said there on the data 7880, but it doesn't say I signed it. It says R. Rodriguez. I don't know who R. Rodriguez is on the image that Ms. Chung just had recently pulled up. I make mistakes every day. If I wrote 8280 at one point, I don't remember. The U-Haul location is at 7880. And we're super close. We're within 2 blocks of where the U-Haul, not the corner gas station U-Haul is. It's the mega, the complex where they have all their trailers come in and out. But I wouldn't have wrote 8280. Thank you for letting me speak and share my thoughts.
Okay, there's Mr. Larson. I see you on the screen, so I'm guessing you're going to do any cross.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't think we have any cross questions.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, Mr. Arnold, let me ask you just a couple questions here.
Yes, sir.
So first off, I guess I'm kind of confused. Did the trailer get towed to Longmont, to your house, or did it get towed to 8280? Or
it went to It went to Longmont from the get-go, Your Honor.
Okay, so it was up in Longmont. Did you perform the tow or did someone else perform the tow?
I have a driver. His name is Austin Gonzalez. He's the one that performed the driver.
Um, and you've updated your storage lot, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Mr. Potts is correct. We've sent the form back to him. Although on my insurance, it does show that 15416 North 83rd is our garage keepers, our lot, if you will. So again, I think my mistake was writing 8280 on the tow ticket itself, which I fall squarely. That's like 100% on me. No one wrote the tow ticket, me.
You know what? You know why? I mean, you know why you might have done that?
At one point, I co-owned the property with my ex-wife. I got divorced in 2021. There's nothing on that property.
Where do you generally tow? Well, I mean, where do you generally tow cars to? What's your general?
To the
Wow.
Longmont address.
Okay. And how long have you been bringing it there?
I think we've been taking them there for 2.5 years, maybe 3 years.
Okay. And are you doing anything to correct your invoice?
1000%. I shared with Mr. Potts. I was a little bit nervous that I had to do this right away. I says, where do I put that? Because these tow tickets are old. There's even an old phone number on there. And he said, well, it has to be on the tow ticket. These are very simple 5x7 tow tickets. I don't try to overcomplicate things. I will make note. And I asked Mr. Potts, can you give me the specific version or the specific verbiage that I need to write on there as to not screw it up? You learn from your mistakes, or most people do, and I don't want to have this problem.
Yeah, I understand. So, and let me ask you, you don't have that verbiage on the back of the tow ticket?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. How often do you do police tows?
We do maybe once a month.
Really?
Yeah, there's specific times where they if it's a camper and the weather's so cold, they don't kick the homeless people out. In this particular case, there was a trailer, and that's all that we're told. There's a trailer there, so we show up with a big wrecker, and it turns out to be just a little trailer. Heck, we could have pulled that with the pickup, but you don't know until you show up.
Right.
A lot of cases, they have been semis. I'm going to say 60-70% of them are campers.
And how long have you been in business? It probably says, but I'll just ask you.
I started my business in January 7th of 2007.
2007. Okay. How's business been?
I've had an enormous amount of luck. I'm super blessed, other than getting a divorce and kind of having to reset up your life. I'm grateful to be here. I love what I do. I truly do.
Well, so you're blessed that you're now divorced, is that right?
Well, that was my own making, so I lived with that. I believe that happy wife, happy life, but you got to make yourself happy too.
That's very true. That's very true. Okay. All right. Is there anything you want to tell me after you hear my questions?
No, sir. Thank you for allowing me to speak my mind and
Absolutely.
participate in this.
Absolutely. That's your right to do that. That's why you pay your tax dollars, so you can do that. So that's what I'm here for. All right. Mr. Larson, you heard that wonderful talk about getting divorced, so don't do that.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Seems just nice. We got one guy who just got married. We got another guy who got divorced, and you got me, and I got 28 years of marriage on Saturday. So, all right. Anything more from staff?
Nothing further from staff, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Ronnie, you have anything you want to tell me?
I know you have a prosecutorial jurisdiction, so I'm gonna just take whatever you. I knew I wasn't gonna win, but here I am.
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Okay. I tell you, that being the case, I don't give decisions right now, Mr. Ronnie. It'll be issued out in a written decision, hopefully within about 30 to 45 days. I generally try to get my decisions out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And if you have nothing further, Ms. Chong, you're back. Do you have anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All righty. Okay. Thank everyone. Thank you, Investigator Potts, for your time. I don't know if I thank you right away when you left the stand, but do appreciate that. Do appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone being here, and we'll be in adjournment, and I'll get this out as soon as I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.